On today's video, I'll be giving you my opinion on how to know if you're ready to buy your first home. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 on my real estate talk series, where I give you my professional takes on different real estate topics. But before we get started, if you don't mind, hit that like button below and subscribe to this channel, and also hit that bell notification. I would greatly appreciate it. And now, let's talk real estate. So, you're thinking about buying a house, huh? Well, I'm excited for you, but let me ask you a serious question. Why? Why do you want to be a homeowner? Is it because you're starting a family and you need some more space? Or maybe you're hearing about all the news about how the interest rates are at record lows. Or maybe you just feel like you have to because it's a part of growing up. Or you're finally pulling the trigger on getting that yard that your dog deserves. No? Alright, so whatever your reason may be, you need to make sure that you're ready to take on such a big responsibility, because even though the idea of home ownership may make sense, the timing for you may not be right. And no, I am not talking about timing the market, but I'm talking about the timing for yourself. And honestly, owning a home isn't for everyone. So let's just jump right into the first way to figure out if you're ready, and that is education. Sorry if you thought you're done with school, but unfortunately, for you to not get taken advantage of in this world, you need to be constantly educating yourself. By clicking on this video, you're already far ahead of someone else that's going to this home buying process blind, which unfortunately a lot of people do by jumping right into the deep end of the buying process by not putting the effort to really understand what is actually happening. But they may have the general idea what is happening, but don't fully grasp what they're getting themselves into and what they're signing up for. So as of right now, there's a lot of people with the fear of missing out of these interest rates that are at record lows. As an example, some people are getting rates as low as 2.25%. 2.25%, that's crazy. That's probably lower than some of your guys' car interest rates. So with numbers like these, I am not surprised at all when people hear about news like this and jump the gun to get into a home with the fear of those rates to go back up when they're actually not ready for that responsibility. Which leads me into a quick rant of unethical salesmen and why being educated can help you out in the long run. But it basically goes something like this. If you don't educate yourself in the process and decide to blindly trust a real estate agent or lender that they're taking care of you and not question anything as long as it fits your budget, then you may be in a rude awakening in the future. And an example would be the financial crash of 2008. Because back then, these professionals used their salesman tactics to persuade people to get into homes they really couldn't afford, and they got in some bad situations where they took out some bad loans called adjustable rate mortgages. Now, I'm not saying that these loans are bad per se, but these loans at the time had extremely relaxed guidelines to be approved. Those guidelines allowed people to obtain mortgages with little to no money down with low affordable monthly payments at the start. And they also had very relaxed income verification to be approved. It basically masked what you really could afford in the long run and approving people that were far from qualified. However, some people did understand the terms and they just assumed that they make more money by the time their loan ever reached a higher rate, which you should never do. But basically, the interest rates on these loans would adjust up or down over a period of time. And you can guess it, it went to a higher rate over time to the point where people weren't able to afford their payments and they ended up defaulting on their loans. Adjustable rate mortgages are still available today, but luckily there's much more regulations these days to protect you. But the point I'm trying to make is that if these loans were explained in detail to where you actually understood the severity of the entire loan's life and not just try to pull a fast one with toying with your emotions on the idea of home ownership and telling you not to worry about the finances until later, then most of the people that were affected back in '08 wouldn't have gotten in the situations that they did. A good real estate agent and loan officer would be genuine and authentic. And don't get me wrong, I want to get paid, but not at the expense of screwing you over in the end. Your agent and your lender should be your professor throughout the whole process, educating you along the way to make sure you understand what is actually happening and, more importantly, keep you in track with your budget. And also, if they don't have the answer, to be honest and find you the answer. Okay, now that my rant for unethical professionals is done, you can quickly understand how important it is to be educated in the process and to ask as many questions as possible. Now, if you're just dabbling in the idea of buying a home and you don't have these two professionals yet in your corner, then make sure you check out my previous video where I give you some really good interview questions on what to ask them. But like how I said in the beginning, by watching this video, you're already doing the first step in educating yourself. So a round of applause for you. I wish my girlfriend was here. She's much better a cheerleader than I am. But anyways, if You should continue using a platform like this one to immerse yourself in as learning as much as possible, and you'll be a pro by the time you get to the closing table. All right, so now that we got education out of the way, we can jump into the next part where people don't like talking about unless they're making it. And if you haven't guessed it, it is money. So in order for you to be financially responsible in buying a home, you need to clear up as much debt as possible. I know you want to just jump on Zillow and start clicking on all those beautiful homes you find and start rushing out to check them all out. But anyone I meet, I always want to set them up for success, because the last thing I want you to do is to add a house to the mix and make it more of a burden than of a blessing. So I beg you to please be financially responsible and stable first before you start searching for a home. Now, there is nothing wrong with browsing and going to open houses to see what you may like in the areas that you want to be in, but only if it helps motivate you to get your act together. So please, if you have a spending issue that you can't control, or have old debt that you haven't caught up with that's piling up, and also if you're finding yourself constantly using your credit card at the end of each month to survive to the next, then adding a home to the mix isn't going to make it any better. And I feel like I just repeated myself, but you're starting to get the picture. Debt plus debt equals more debt. But Peter, everyone is telling me that I'm wasting money on renting when I could easily be using that money to pay off a mortgage instead. Isn't that the smarter and more financially responsible thing to do? And the answer to that is yes, no. But until you clean up your act by getting your debt cleared or at least under control, and you save up some money for a down payment and also an emergency fund set aside, then buying a house is far from the responsible thing to do. Things will break, accidents will happen, and now you'll be even more debt to do all the repairs because it is your house, your responsibility, and you can't be running off to the landlord to fix it because guess what? You are the landlord. And that was just maintenance and repairs. What about furnishing the entire property and renovating it if you bought a used home? So there goes another few grand. So the low interest rates we're experiencing right now may not be worth it to some people if you come to think about it. And I'm starting to sound like a horrible salesman right now because I'm making it sound like I'm trying to persuade you out of buying a home. But honestly, I'm just trying to be as real as possible with you to help you understand what you're getting yourself into, and you be the judge to how to move forward. Oh, and to throw in some numbers really quick, I recommend you saving at least 3 to 6 months of expenses as an emergency fund, along with 6 to 10% towards your targeted price point of a home. So to put it in perspective, that's about $20,000 in a $200,000 home. Yeah, that's a lot of money. And yes, you can get into a home with much less. So talk to your loan officer about all the different options. And in the meantime, I'll make a video in a later date breaking down all the numbers. So let's do a quick recap so far. And that is to educate yourself on the process and the costs associated with owning a house, and to get financially ahead of yourself as much as possible with a good game plan before adding something as big of a house to your portfolio. And again, if you find yourself using a credit card at the end of each month to survive to the next month because you don't have enough money in the bank, then you're definitely not ready for a house. So speaking of credit cards, let's talk about your credit. So if you don't have a credit score with at least 620 or above, then you may have trouble securing a mortgage. However, there are many avenues where you can secure funding, but those options may cost you more in the long run with higher interest rates and extra fees. If you don't know what your credit score is, then don't worry. You can request a free copy of your credit report from the 3 nationwide credit reporting companies. However, if you don't want to waste your copy of your free credit report right now, then you can use some alternate free methods such as your credit card and websites like Credit Karma. They'll provide you a score that's frequently updated. From my understanding, they're usually off around 30 to 40%. So take it with a grain of salt. And also, if your credit isn't so hot right now, there's also many other resources you can use at your disposal to speed up the process, such as credit repair companies. But I'll make videos specifically on companies that help fix credit and debt because not all of them are the same, and there's some things you need to watch out for. Okay, so now that this video is getting kind of long, the next 2 points I'll keep it simple, and that's your job history and your taxes. For your job, you need to be able to show your lender that you're reliable and responsible by having consistent job history with no major gaps and also 2 years of recent reported income. That way, your lender has more faith in you that you're less of a risk to default on a loan. And I know the obvious reason for this video is to set yourself up for a better deal and get you more prepared financially. But the true underlying point is to get yourself ready mentally. I'm a huge mental health advocate, and I turned my life around about 6 years ago. And ever since then, I've been pushing for a better, healthy lifestyle for myself and everyone else around me. So I really mean everything I say in these videos, and I'm probably self-sabotaging myself and scaring people away from owning a home. But owning a home is not an easy thing to do. It can cause fights, sleepless nights, and make you feel stuck with a huge burden on your shoulders. You just have to ask yourself on how to use your dollar the best way for you that will keep you happier in the long run, and so that you don't have the pressure of what society tells you that you should be doing. So that basically ends today's video, but let's do a quick recap and see if you can answer these 5 questions to see if you can move forward. And question number 1, and that is, do you understand the home buying process and the terms that go along with it? For number 2, are your debts and credit scores in order? For question number 3 is, do you have enough saved up, which will consist of your emergency fund, which I believe should be 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, and at least 6% of your estimated sale price of a home at the top of your budget, which will pay for the down payment and the other associated fees that goes into the closing of the home, and any extra money to move, furnish, and pay for upgrades on the property. For number 4, can you comfortably afford your new monthly payment while having enough to continue saving for a rainy day and put money towards retirement? And last but not least, number 5 is, are you ready to settle down? If you answer no to some of these questions, then contact me and I'll gladly help you figure out a game plan at no charge. Now, if you answer yes to all these questions, then you're ready to buy your first home. And now it's time for you to use your winning team to create a game plan on how to set yourself up for success on your first property. And if you don't have that winning team yet in your corner, then make sure you check out my last videos on what questions you should ask when interviewing a real estate agent or a loan officer. If you have any questions at all, you can contact me on my socials or drop a comment below. And make sure you like this video if it helped you at all, and subscribe to this channel because I have a lot more topics like this coming your way. And one more thing before I end this, I just want to say is, everything in life is a gamble, but if you take some good calculated risk and set yourself up for success by taking care of things sooner than much later, then your house can be a huge asset in the future and not a big burden. So thank you again guys all for watching. Good luck in 2021, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.